get logged in here. All right. Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to the Angular Material Data Table talk. My name is Andrew Seguin. I work on the Angular Material team.
And I'm Erin Columnbased. I work on Google Analytics. Together, Andrew and I designed and built the Angular Material Data Table. So today we're going to start with a little bit about our design, and then we're going to go into more details about our templating and our data source. And then finally, we're going to end with a demo. So I have a bakery.
All right.
So we're going to look at an app that we're building for our bakery. So first, the design.
Cool. All right. So like all good features that we have in Material, we start with an empty GitHub issue. No description, just a real short title. But we could tell by the reactions on the bottom that people were really excited about this one. We got hundreds of party emotions and smileys, and I think 6 people were sad that we were doing this.
I think they're sad that we didn't have it, that we don't have a data table.
So they're happy now.
Hopefully everyone's happy now.
Hopefully they're happy now.
Or now, look,
hey,
here's the Angular Material Data Table. So this exists. You guys can use it today.
Out of beta. If you guys didn't see the news, we're out of beta now.
And so what does this table support? So it supports sorting,
paging,
filtering,
inline editing,
selection,
virtual scrolling,
sticky columns and rows,
custom cell templates,
animations,
drag and drop support for column reordering,
and everything.
Everything. It supports everything.
This table supports everything.
Amazing. Thank you.
So how did we support everything?
How did we do that? Cool. OK. So when we first started this design, we talked to a lot of people internal to Google. We talked to a lot of customers. We figured out what are the list of features we want to put into this table. And it turned out everybody had their own way of what they wanted, right? So the material spec does define, like, this is what a table looks like. But some teams said, my paginator should do this, or my sorting should do this.
Some people wanted dense layouts, others wanted comfortable.
Yeah.
Custom
Everyone wanted a
filtering.
different kind of thing with this table. So there was a challenge here.
And so, like we said, some people want a very simple roller coaster. Just goes up and down, displays a couple rows.
Some people want a table that looked like this, right? Does everything and twists and turns and...
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so what we ended up coming up with is we didn't have to build the Angular Material Data Table. We can create a foundational data table that we then could build on top of. And in doing this, we could support everything and allow you to do the same with all of your features.
So what we did, we took a step back and we said, what is the table? What are its responsibilities? What can we really focus on that you could build on top of? And what we found is that there's 2 parts. So first part, you got your layout, right? You want to render rows of cells very efficiently, very performant, in an accessible way so anybody can see them. Second part, you got the data source. And that's kind of the brains of the operation, right? What rows do I want to show to the user? And we found that with these 2 guys, if we do them right in a flexible way, not over-engineer it, you could build anything on top of them. And we looked through our feature spreadsheet. Everything was good. This would fit that model.
And so we're going to go into both of these ideas, so the layout and then the data source. So first, the layout. We began by looking at all of the tables out there. And almost every single person is designed what we call a row-based layout. So it looks something like this. You have a header row, you define a bunch of cells in a header, and then you define what a row looks like, and a bunch of cells in that row. And then the table goes through and it just repeats for row and row. So this looks like an HTML table.
Looks good, right? And this is what the code would look like. So you've got a container for a row, you put a bunch of cells in there, you say what it should be, and you imagine the table will render out all these rows. Pretty simple.
Yeah, and so if we put it together, we have the header row, the data row. Again, it looks like the HTML table here.
We liked it. This was good. We're off to a good start. It looked simple to use. It was intuitive. It made sense, right? You give it data, it shows the rows. We're good, right?
Yeah, until we went back and started looking at some of our features. So we had sticky columns as a feature that some teams wanted. People wanted to reorder columns or hide those columns for mobile devices. So your 10-column table, that's not going to work on a phone. And we noticed there's a lot of copy and paste. There was no reusing what a row is or anything like that. So we felt like we were at a dead end here.
So we took a step back, went back to the drawing board, and said, we need to redo this layout. We need to do a template that has a little bit more control. So we met with the core team. We met with a lot of customers. We met with as many people as we could, and it took a few months. But we ended up coming with a design we liked, right? We thought outside the box, and it kind of flipped itself on its head.
Yeah. So instead of thinking of a table as a bunch of rows, we thought of a table as a bunch of columns. So now our table looks like this. We still have the outline of a table, but instead of defining the row, we have this gray box. So each column has a header and then a list of repeated cells within that column. And so if we go through and look at some of the code here, a column looks like this. The header cell is the name, and then our data, which gets repeated, is the data name.
Cool. And then what do we need to do next is tell it what columns do you want to display. So then we have our header row and our row, and all we need to do is give it a reference to the columns that we've defined earlier in their containers.
So putting this all together here, we still have our large layout. So first you define the name column, then you define a movie column, and then you put it all together.
Yeah, we know the interface, it looks harder. It looks a little less intuitive. It's confusing. But the benefit is it gave us control, right? It gave us the ability to know all about the cells, the rows, the header row, and the columns, right? And that fit all of our requirements for a table that needed to be performant and fast and understand your intent of how you wanted to use the table.
So we're able to have those row-based features that weren't, or column-based features that weren't possible with the rows earlier. So we can reorder these just by changing the order in that array. Now, after talking about the layout and going with this column-based design, we're gonna go into the second part of our talk, which is the data source. And so as we said, the data source is the brain.
It's the brains, right? So what you're gonna do is, if you wanna talk to the table and tell it what rows you wanna render, you go through the data source. So think of your data source as the guy that's modular, where you're gonna put all the logic about what rows do I wanna display to the user, and then the benefit being that you can use that data source anywhere else, right? So say we have a couple names here, Erin and Andrew. We give it to the data source, and it's gonna say, all right, I'll tell the table, render out Erin and Andrew. Great, simple. Now, if we added another guy here, Rob, all right, data source says I saw a change. I'm gonna let the table know, hey, something has changed. Go ahead and render that out.
Admittedly, this is not the most interesting use of a data source. It just gets passed the data directly through the table to render. But let's say we have something else in here. Let's say we add sorting. So sorting gets passed into the data source along with our database or our information. The table then only is listening to this one stream. It's able to see the result in the rows that the data source decides, and it just renders it. So adding another one.
Another one, we got filtering, right? So now we've got, let's say the user types E in some filter box. So now the data source is gonna say, I know my data, I know the sorting arrangement, and I know that I need a filter on E. So what am I gonna do to process that to send it off to the table? I'm gonna show Erin and Andrew.
Yeah, and we can imagine this with any type of database. So we had just an array of data, but you can imagine some more of a real-time one, like a Firebase, for instance, here. And more information, so paging and more complex filtering or triggers. So anything that you want to add to the table goes into this data source, and then the CDK table just renders it. And with that, we're going to go into a demo. So I said I had a bakery. It's called Baked Cake. And this bakery, Andrew and I just got word from our manager, and she wants us to build an app so we can see all of our orders. So table seems good for that. Let's go and see what it looks like.
All right, so let's dive into the app. All right, so here's what we have so far. So what I've done is I've created a new app with the CLI. You guys all know the process. There's just a basic layout, some styles here. There's no logic. And let's see what the code looks like. So here's our app component. It's fairly simple. It has one thing, a data source. Okay, so we're gonna start with one pre-built for us. And it does a very simple job, right? So we're injecting into our app component some database. And I don't know any information about the database except that it provides some stream of data, orders. Yeah. Okay, now when I create my data source, I pass the orders along to the data source.
And the data source itself is pretty simple. Can we look at it real fast, Andrew?
Right. So the implementation for data source.
So there's really only two parts of this. So first we have our connect method. And this is just that one stream of data we kept seeing being passed from the data source to our table. And the second part is this disconnect method. And so disconnect is just the type of cleanup you want. So cleaning up any observables, any unsubscribes, or anything you like in that regard.
All right, so back to our app component. So we want a table. Let's put a table in here, right? Let's go to our HTML and see what we got. So I got to figure out where the table goes, and I think it goes in the table.
Yeah, I think there's a spot right here. That's
Okay.
where we can put it. It seems good.
So we're going to start with a mat component, a mat table. Now, so we did mention the CDK table. The mat table is just a CDK table with some 16 lines of styles to it to make it look like the mat material style.
Yeah, so like you guys are able to build on top of it, we built on top of it for the material table, Angular material table. So we passed in our data source with the list of orders. And the first thing we want to do here is build a column.
We need a column, right? We need column definitions. And so let's start with a column definition, right? And let's look back at our data and see what kind of stuff we want to display. So look on the top here. So our bakery orders, they have a few different things in here. And I see one thing, order ID. So let's start with that. Yeah. So let's go under HTML. We'll make a column for order ID. Mm-hmm. Let's do this. All right, so what I've just created here was a container. The name is order ID. The header cell you see will just say order ID. And the cell for the data rows are just going to access the data property for order ID. Mm-hmm. Very simple, right?
Yeah.
Now we need one more thing. Let's put in our rows, because we need to tell the table what columns do you want to display in these rows. So you see here that there's an array, order ID. All right. I think that's it.
Now we have a table, right?
See if it works. There we are.
Oh, nice.
Hey,
awesome.
there it is. Can it scrolls?
Yeah, there's
we're good.
a lot
All
of
right,
items in there.
We've got all of our data. So not too impressive.
I don't think my manager's going to like this.
Let's put more.
She doesn't know about the cost or what we're ordering. Yeah, let's add some more information.
So I want to add more columns. I'm going to do a shortcut to add a bunch more columns, right? But they're all the same thing, basically. But it's just for the rest of the data, right? So I've added 6 more columns for the item, the flavor, customer cost, quantity. Great. And so if we see our table, still says order ID.
I don't see everything else in there.
No. So what are we missing?
Oh, we have to update the row.
That's right. All right. So let's tell it what columns and what order we want them to display in. So the best way probably to do that is start making a variable.
Yeah. And the power of creating this variable and not defining it all in your template is that we can then hide columns, reorder columns, and we really get that the benefit of defining these columns here. So if I wanted to remove one, I just delete it from my array and it goes away. So we can imagine more components interacting with this.
All right.
So finish writing this out.
Okay, save. No.
Yeah.
There we go. All
awesome.
right, now we got a bunch of data. We're showing a real table. Again, scroll, lots of data in here.
That is a lot of data.
It's kind of a lot of data, right? A little overwhelming. What can we do about that?
Well, I think we can add some kind of paging components.
Paging would be good. That'd be
if
good
I
next step.
remember, the material table also has paging components and sorting components built in with it. So let's use the map paginator here instead.
Cool. So here we go. Map paginator comes with the library. Let me scroll this way a little bit. So all we're doing right now is telling it how long is our orders database orders length right now, right? So now this should show up in the app.
Yeah.
There we go. Now we got something that looks like a table, right? So we got a title on it. We've got the rows. We've got a paginator.
So does it work? Wait,
so we still got a lot of data in here, and so it doesn't look like it's working yet, right? What are we missing?
Oh, the streams. So we have to add some kind of event in here and some way to tell the data source that this paginator is changing.
So the map paginator does emit an event page, and it tells us what page does the user want to see and how long is that page going to be. The best way to do that, right? We've got a data source. It's the brains of our operations. So when this page event happens, let's tell our data source that something has happened. So we're going to go into our data source here, and we're going to add a subject, a stream, that the paginator can then talk to tell the data source something has changed. Now, in our connect function to the table, we need to tell it there's more things than just orders.
Yeah, so here we're going to actually use a combine latest with the observable. So we want to take the latest from our database and the latest from this paginator information and actually combine them into what we're actually passing to the table.
So I'm going to take the result, and the result contains an array of 2 things, the orders and the page. Mm-hmm. And so let's just make some function, get page data, and I'll pass it those 2 things, right? All right, so now let's actually make that function, and I'll perform some magic here. And there we go. And we got to get page data. And all it does is it gets the orders, it does some math, it says what slice of the data should we show.
And one of the interesting things here is this orders.slice. And so what this is doing is this is creating a copy of our data and really helping maintain the immutability here. So we don't want to actually be changing our actual data, and the table gets that new information.
So last bit, we need to connect up the map paginator with the data source. Let's see what that looks like here. So in the page, let's tell the data source, go to the page changes, emit the next value, and send in the event from our paginator.
Awesome.
Hit save, and
So this should work now.
let's see.
That looks like less.
Does it refresh?
Oh.
Nope. All right, what are we missing here? Let's see. So we've got the page, we told the orders. Return that.
Sure, just hit next.
Yeah.
Just try paging.
No. Try paging.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
It was working the
My
whole time.
apologies. It was working. I should hit the next button. And this is 50 items. I'm
Now-
sorry.
there we
Yep.
go. Now there's
All right,
a lot
so
less
we're
items
good.
here.
We're good. Everything is set up.
Okay.
Cool. So you're looking at this now, right? This matches the material spec. It looks like a table, and this is something you'd want. But we said like you can build upon it, right? And we kind of showed that process. And what I want to do is click this button up here, and it's going to highlight our components and show like how did we build this thing out to the user looks like a single solid table, but for you guys, you know behind the scenes you've customized this, right? So at the top it's just a div, it's a header. Below that you've got the actual table, and then even further you've got the map paginator.
And if we wanted to swap the paginator with our own custom paginator for our bakery, we can do that. So we can add the go-to page without actually making any changes to the table. So as we went through and did this, we touched the paginator and the data source, but we didn't touch anything about the way the table is displayed. So this is the separation of responsibilities between the data source and our template.
All right, so we do have a bake shop.
You do.
And like we want to open the doors. So we want orders to come in and write any database. It will be changing, and we kind of want to show these changes in the table. Right?
Yeah, I want to see them as they're coming in. I want to know what my next order is right away.
So let's think. So our database, it had a stream of orders. We sent that. Let's look at the code here. We sent that to the data source, and it's listening to the orders and the page changes. It does some math, it figures out what should happen.
But it's all streams here, so
all streams.
Our database is a stream of data, and our pages are a stream of data.
So I don't think we have to change anything if we wanted to turn on real time, right? So think of like maybe like a Firebase database. Let's turn on the real time orders, and hey, things are changing, things are showing up. We've got a stream of stuff coming on in.
And we didn't have to
Pretty
change
good.
anything.
We didn't have
with
to change
this code.
anything at all. So that works. So yeah, it's good. It comes in, but users, they see this, they see jank, right? They don't know kind of like what happened here. We
just
know
have
rows are
things
coming
jumping in. Like
Yeah.
maybe if we add some kind of animation in here.
Animations would be good. All
I've
right.
heard animations are really hard though. I don't.
So Angular does come with a good animations framework. So let's try to leverage it. So what I want to do, here's my goal. When a new row comes in, and it's a new processing order from the baking shop, I want it to kind of transition in, right? I want to show the users like this thing is the brand new thing. So in our template, since we do have a handle on the mat row, which is the thing the table is stamping out in the view, I can add an animation trigger right on this guy. And if you see here the let order, that order I can access, and for every data row, we'll have the individual order for that data. Okay. So let's try setting up some state trigger. I'm going to call it state, and it's going to look at the order status. All right, so let's go back to our app component, and in the metadata, we can add in some animations. And I've got one here, and it's real simple. It says when something goes from void to processing, which is a new row that starts with processing, do some kind of height thing, right?
Okay.
So let's see what that looks like here. We'll turn on real-time orders.
Hey.
Looks a lot nicer. All right, so now users know kind of like things are coming in, things are streaming, and looks
We didn't
pretty
touch
good.
the data source for this one.
So we didn't touch the data source, and really, what was that? 5 lines of code, right? And you add a little bit of polish and a little bit nice kind of look and feel to your data table.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's going to make my manager very happy.
All right. I think we're set.
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right, so I think we got our app all set up. Let's look back at our slides here and kind of go over what we talked about here.
There we go. And so what we want to take away is that the Angular material data table exists. You can use this today in your applications, and it's out of beta.
It's out of beta. We're excited about that. Second thing, you can build anything with the CDK table, right? So you own the view, you own the data source, you own the logic about what shows up. We're going to focus on being as performant as possible, but we want you guys to build with us. And over time, we'll provide things. We'll add sugar to the interface. We'll make things a little bit easier if you want a simple table. We can even add in selection columns and such, and you guys can join us and build great things with this table.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. Pleasure.
Thank you.